Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions, the worlds of pop culture, social media, TV, film, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actress from Montreal, living in Toronto. Currently, we're with Erica Deutschman. Erica, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, it's been a while. Those Dawson College days seem like they've literally been like 10 years ago.
It's almost, I think. I don't want to age us. I don't want to give away our age. But
No, absolutely. So it's been a while, and I just wanted to kind of icebreaker question. I mean, whether you're an actor, a musician, a writer, we're all storytellers. When did you kind of decide that you want to go into storytelling?
Oh, good question. That's a nice way to phrase it. When I was really young, I was inspired by like child stars that I'd watch, like so embarrassing, the Olsen twins. I'd watch that and I was like, gotta do it, gotta do this. And also, I, not to sound awful, but we like talking. I love talking and sharing stories and being the center of attention. So it seemed like a good fit. And it's nice because sometimes when people meet me, they go, "Oh, like, are you an actress?" And I'm like, "Good, you could tell."
No, absolutely. And no, for people who don't know much about you, if they search you on the internet, they'll notice that you had some roles in some shows like, Shadowhunters, Being Human, American Gothic, Murdoch Mysteries on CBC, like a lot of different shows. So far, what has kind of been the project that you have done that has been the most important to you in terms of, learning experiences as an actress?
I think that I take away something different from every project. Like, you never know what you're getting yourself into, and then you meet amazing people and you get to play the coolest characters. Like a ghost, a vampire, this is just super fun and crazy, and no one ever gets to do that. So, I can't really pinpoint one. I met one of my best friends doing Saving Hope, so I think that
that's
that
cool.
We just kind of fell in love on set, and I was visiting her in New York this weekend. It was just one of those times where you click really well with someone, and so that was definitely a really positive experience. But yeah, I mean, you hear horror stories on sets, but that I haven't experienced that yet.
It's funny because we'll get to the next question I wanted to ask you was kind of like a hallmark of Popternative. I always ask people about this. It's like misconceptions of industries. And I've had a lot of different, pretty interesting responses to those questions. And so, for example, I had Shauna Hammock, who was on the last season of Orange is the New Black. She was one of the CO Ginger. She was talking about, the misconceptions that, not all actors and actresses are waiters. There's other jobs that you can get, like being an assistant on set or anything. And then the one I always get too is, someone's been doing it for 10, 15 years and you just see them in a new show or movie and you're like, wow, this is a brand new person in the scene. And that's not the case at all. So what are some other things, misconception wise about the industry where people be like, oh, it's like this, right? You're like, no, it's not like that actually at all.
Oh. Well, I love the one that you said about people are like, oh, a newcomer. And you're like, nope, really not. I had a friend who won an award, breakthrough artist. And it was like, I've been doing this for 10 years, no, not really. But okay, thank you. I'll take it. And another misconception, I would say, people think it's so glamorous. And I feel like the girl on Orange is the New Black probably would agree with me that, it's not always super sexy. I just have happened to be covered in blood a lot. like for my career. So
I remember when you first started, and I saw it on Facebook. You posted a still from Being Human, and
yeah.
we had a few classes together, so I knew you were like an actress, and we had that video class. And I remember some of those short movies we made. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember some of. I have a really good memory, but I remember one where it was about you, and you were stuck in like an ATM. Do you remember that?
Oh my, I just found that DVD, like cleaning out my room, maybe like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh my God, no computer has a DVD player in it anymore. So I still haven't gotten to see it, but I do remember that because that was a true story.
Yeah, it's true. It was based on a true story. So
that happened to me.
No, absolutely. So I remember, like the Being Human, you posted a photo and it's just you just like drenched in blood.
Yes.
And I was like freaking out. I was like, because that was like when that show first came out, that was the talk of the town. Like everyone was talking about that show.
Well, because it's shot in Montreal too. Yeah. So it was like, and it was so cool because I'd be like in New York. I keep talking about New York for some reason, and I'd see posters for it, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool that like something that shoots in Montreal is getting international recognition. I mean, I know it was an American show, but still, like shout out. And yeah, so I've been covered in blood a lot, like on other shows too. I just like, I don't know what it is about me. Maybe it goes well with my skin tone, but yeah. So it's like they were peeling you off the floor, because you're covered in fake blood. I came back as that same character. And they wanted to match the blood that I died in because I was a ghost. And so like they painted it on every day. It took about an hour and a half to like get the blood right. And everything I owned that summer turned red because like I'd leave set and accidentally leave some of it on. And so, yeah, it's not quite as glamorous as it always seems to be.
I know that's a good one. So question I want to ask is, we were both from Montreal, we were both Canadians, and you were an actress from Canada who, works on some shows that are American or works outside sometimes, but, it is an amazing time for Canadian film and Canadian television. I mean, television specifically, there in the comedy genre, there are some shows like Kim's Convenience on CBC and Letterkenny, which just got picked up on Hulu. It's been amazing. And then drama shows as well. Yeah, no, it's amazing. So it's a great, is it safe to say that it's like it's kind of like the golden age, as far as we know, of television in Canada right now? Like it seems like there's a lot going on.
Well, I think it's the golden age of television. And I like absolutely like for Canada too. Like I think it's like happening everywhere, but definitely in Canada, because I don't want to put anyone down, but there was a time where if you said it's Canadian, people would go, oh, so
there's a stigma attached to it.
There is, yeah, and there still is. We're still working on it, but like I really, it's really encouraging, especially Letterkenny, where they started online and like it got picked up and now it's huge, right? And it was just kind of a little project that they started on YouTube. So yeah, it's so encouraging because I don't remember a time where it was like, oh, these guys like, wrote their own thing, put it online, and now it's watched everywhere. So yeah, it's super exciting.
So another thing too is, when you start, because we're talking about, you started acting and being in some shows when you were still in school or right after school, you know what I mean? So you were young, right? So maybe not like a child actress, but you were like a teen actress, right? So I mean that's gonna be a struggle for a lot of reasons. You're balancing school or work, and then you're trying to do auditions all the time, but you have another life as well, depending on what time of the time frame of your life, whether it's school, whether it's something else, right? How were you able to balance all of that at a young age?
A great question, because I was filming an indie when I was it was my first semester at Concordia. I also did communications, and
was this are you talking about Happy Slapping?
I am talking about Happy Slapping, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it was mostly night shoots. So
Well, one of the first movies filmed on an iPhone, right?
Correct. Yeah, you did your research.
Of course.
Yeah, which was super. It was great. It was like I kept trying to convince the director, like, I don't think my character would be the one filming. Like, we all do it ourselves, and I'm like, I'm not good at this. But yeah. So it was mostly night shoots, and I was like exhausted. Like, I would go to school during the day and then I would work at night. I get maybe 2 hours. By the end of it, I was like delirious. But like, you kind of just have to do what you have to do, like you make it through and then you have something you can be proud of, and you stay in school. So I don't know if I'm the best example in managing, because I'm like, do it all, but that's my advice to you.
Well, Simu Liu from Kim's Convenience, like when he was, I always ask sometimes, like, what advice do you have for upcoming, storytellers? And he said, he's like, yeah, you were going to have, school or work, but make sure that even if you go home from a really like grueling 9-to-5 day, that you're working on your craft outside of work. Like, that's what it takes. You know what I mean? And like, same with me with the podcast. I work, I come home, I'm working on the podcast for another 4 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, people forget, they're like, and I've been a victim, or I've been guilty of this. Like, you're like working, and then you kind of forget that you have to still work at it when you're not there. I mean, obviously you're like learning your lines and you're working on that specific project, but it's true. Like, you got to stay sharp and you got to keep working at it. And it's hard to balance for sure.
For sure. So we know, there's certain things that you can talk about or you can't talk about your upcoming work, but what can you tell us about what you've been up to lately?
Well, it's been a really exciting year, just in terms of like traveling and, just, I've done mostly TV in the past, and I'm working on a movie now. I just finished a movie, so that'll be really cool to see. And I can share. I was in Budapest in February for an episode of Ransom.
Oh, wow.
That's already out, so you can go check it out. And then I just wrapped a film called Radio Silence. That was shooting in Montreal, so it's always nice to be home.
Is John Ralston in that movie?
He is, yeah.
Life with Derek. That used to be like one of my favorite shows.
Oh my god! Oh,
do you remember that show? Do you remember that show?
I never saw it. No.
Well, that show was kind of cool because that was like a Canadian show that was like on Disney Channel. Like, that was like they put that on Disney Channel. So no one knew it was Canadian, but maybe that's why I liked it so much, because it felt like homey and Canadian.
Well, just going back to the golden age of comedy, the Canada's always had a really strong kids show market.
Oh, Arthur is the greatest show of all time.
Yeah. And like, I knew half of the cast just because they were like neighbors. Man,
Jesse Camacho did the voice on Arthur.
Yeah, who I did Happy Slapping with. Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur, you can get me talking about Arthur forever. That's
probably me too. So we'll blow right past that one. But it's always been a great market for kids shows. So maybe I should focus on that. I don't know.
Man, I wanted to rate when I was doing ideas. I obviously chose the hockey like social media angle for my thesis, but like children's shows and edutainment in Canada was something I was interested maybe in researching.
Well, if you ever want to go back and write another,
no, like that was one of the ideas I was thinking about, because I love that. I thought that's an amazing. Yeah. There's so many good shows.
So many good shows, and it's a crazy market here, and no one even knows it's Canadian. You have to look for like the actor thing at the end of the credits.
Yeah, because John Ralston is like pretty, like, he did a show that was on HBO Canada called Living in Your Car that I really enjoyed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I try. I want to support. You got to support Canada.
Absolutely. And like he still is in Toronto, I really admire, like, I know a couple really well-established actors who stayed here, and I know that there's a market for that. Like, the people that people go to, it's and it's nice to be able to stay.
So you did that movie.
Yeah. So with John, who's lovely, that was kind of covered in blood again. Maybe I shouldn't say that. That might be spoiler.
Is it
but you know
out? Is it out yet?
It's not out yet, but I looked on IMDb and they have photos of me lying in a parking lot. So I think we can
Alert.
and say that I have blood on me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's coming out, I believe, in a couple months.
Cool.
I think they're still in post-production. I'm about to go in to do ADR for that, so I can't wait to see how it looks. And then the film I'm working on now is called A Very Country Wedding. It's a sequel to a Christmas movie about some country stars who fall in love. And I play the daughter of Dina Carter, who's a pretty well-known country singer. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's shooting up in Barrie. We just had a wedding in a barn. it was great. We're still working on that. So that wraps in October.
That's awesome. You know, it's really cool to see you doing so many different things. Like there's a variety.
Definitely a variety. Yeah. It's nice to dip your pen in a couple different things, especially because I don't know, when I first started, it felt like it was more some of the same, like a lot of the same, but yeah, it's really diversified in the past couple of years.
No, absolutely. Before we wrap up, one more quick question. What is some advice that you would kind of have for people that are kind of wanting to get into acting and auditioning that you can kind of give to our listeners and viewers? Because we do have a lot of people, a lot of storytellers that watch and listen to the show.
Yeah,
so everything helps. Yeah, a
lot. Like prepare for auditions, but never over prepare. Keep at it. It's so cliche, but it's, like you're not going to get your first job unless you're extremely lucky, which some people do. I didn't, but you can't get discouraged. And I think that you have to have a really thick skin to get into it in the first place, because I know some people who just kind of go, oh, it didn't work out for me in the first year, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. But if you do really want to do it, then you have to stick with it. And then, practice makes perfect. So always, I'm always looking for classes and different ways to, sharpen it up, because it's very important to just keep working at it.
No, absolutely. Well, Erica, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a blast.
It's been a pleasure. I could talk for hours, but I won't.
No, I'm really happy we're able to do this. Where can people follow you on social media so they can keep up with everything going on with Erica Deutschman?
Well, just not to get expectations up. I'm terrible at social media, so you'll expect one a month. But one post a month.
Is that the rule? That your agent, did your agent tell you, by the way, once a month?
You would think, but I think once a month, it's just random, but there happens to be maybe one interesting thing that happens in my month that I feel is worth posting about. So stay tuned for that. I keep up the anticipation. You can follow me on Instagram at just Erica Deutschman. I'm the only one there. So, that's it. I don't have anything else.
Perfect. No, thank you so much. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you in the future. Well.
No, absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts with the audio versions. Until next time, this is Erica Deutschman and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.